Hey guys, what's up, how you doing, and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a third age Total War Reforged battle fought between Mevin playing as the Realm of Lindon and Morris playing as Dorwinion. It must be said before I begin showing this replay, I did find this on the third age Reforged server, so it was not sent directly to me. Of course it would definitely be a massive help to me and the continuous and just me being able to continue the channel if you guys send me some replays, as I've got schoolwork and stuff coming up in the next week and a half or so, which means I'll have less time to play these battles and then record them, so I'll probably be at a massive replay deficit within a very short period of time. But without further ado, let us get into the army comps. Mevin will go through first, as we're viewing this from his perspective, so there will be no hidden units that we can't see. He's got some Mithril Lancers, 1 hit point Shock Cavalry, 1 hit point just gives some massive disadvantage because 2 hit point Cavalry is pretty much the meta for Cavalry. However, they do have one thing that most Shock Cavalry doesn't, and that is those precursor javelin volleys that they can send off at their opponents. Just getting some good armor piercing damage on them before they even connect. Then we have the Mithril Nobles. Bit of a surprising choice, I think, because chariots are very prone to dying very quickly if they get shot at. However, chariots, yeah, these guys do have javelins. They can do some damage at range, as well as being chariots in melee, they'll just run everything over. Unless I'm thinking of other Total Wars, but yep. Then he has 2 units of Mithril and Swordmasters, 1 here and 1 on this hill over here, which I'm not sure, but I feel like may have been a slight misclick or something. But yeah, these guys will be able to slog through almost anything that Morris can send their way, especially stuff like the archers and all of these Elvelin. The Morriquendi and Nandor, because they're elves and they have their elven quality, and of course the bodyguard tier units like Elven and Hammerguard and stuff, they're more likely to be able to hold up against such a foe. But yeah, these guys are just a brilliant pick for any Lindon army. Probably not as good a pick as stuff like Nordarin, but definitely up there in terms of quality. One thing to note is they are very lightly armoured, so if you shoot, it's a very good idea to shoot them. They're very weak to arrows, and that does appear to be what is happening here. They do appear to be getting shot at, if these arrows in the dirt are any indication of that. He's also gone for 4 units of Harland and infantry, well, Lindon's just basic sword and board infantry, nothing to write home about in terms of elves, but they will just hold the line, dish out damage, of course, because they have their elven quality. These 1-to-1 will manage to definitely beat elven infantry. However, I think if Dorwinion have anything to say about it, it won't be 1v1, because they'll just shoot them. Because of course these guys also, well, basically everything in Lindon's army has very little, if not no armour, excluding the Nordarin units, which I believe he's only brought 1 of, which could prove to be a fatal mistake. He's gone for 2 units of Fallen and Marines. These guys javelins at range, and then they pull out spears and shields in melee. They have the shields already, but they pull out spears in melee, and they'll just be able to hold the line for a fairly decent chunk of time. Mithril Marines, on the other hand, javelins at range, and then they can close into melee with some, well, scimitars I want to call them, because they have that sort of like curvy blade. But basically they pull out their swords and go into melee and dish out some damage there as well. Then here we have a unit of Holland and Guard. There's another unit of them over there somewhere. Yeah, there. These guys, Lindon's, I think, best arch unit, especially since they're serviceable in melee. They have spears and shields. They can get, they're very liable to getting shot at. However, and that could be very easy for Dorwinion with their tanky archers, but their elven archers as well. Elven archers will make short work of stuff like Harlan's guard and almost everything that DF Morris Mevin has brought today, excluding that these guys can still get fairly shots up. The Nolder and Blade Masters, which, yep, Lindon is in there, it's Mevin's General's bodyguard. These guys, just one of the best sword master unit in melee. Only beaten by stuff like the Pharism sword masters because of that extra hit point, and I think that's pretty much the only two sword master unit that can beat them. However, since there's only 63 of them, they can get overwhelmed and outnumbered and overwhelmed. But now I believe that's all of Mevin's army, so let us move on to Morris's army. It's got 2 units of Morokwendi Stalkers. They have poison arrows at range. They can dish out quite a bit of morale damage, albeit that morale damage will recover. And of course, because they're elves, they'll dish out damage just in general. And then they pull out glaives in melee so they can fulfill the same role as sort of very light shock cavalry. And they will probably rely on, actually nah, because they're elves, they'll have pretty decent melee stats. But they'll also rely a fair chunk on their mass as horsemen. On each flank, I believe he has one there. Is that Nandor Blade Riders over there? No, it's not. Okay. So on one flank he has the Morokwendi Blade Lords. These guys are bodyguards here, cavalry units. Shock cavalry, of course, heavy. They'll dish out an awful lot of damage on the charge. And they have small shields just to give them that bit of defense against range units. However, range units will still be a pretty solid way, and spears. Range units and spears will be the way that Dorwinion deal with them. Actually, another thing to note is that this is a very rush sort of focused army. There's no pikes that will show up late to the fight, which could be a mistake considering the pike threat that Dorwinion could put up as well. On the other flank, very similar but slightly weaker, I would actually say, than the Mithril Lancers, are the Nandor Blade Riders. These guys are also a shock cavalry unit. However, they don't have that javelin. There's a couple of javelin bodies that the Mithril Lancers have, so they could find themselves getting very quickly overrun and just out melee, which could potentially cause many problems for Dorwinion's force. Out here in the front you can see he's got 2 units of Elven Marksmen. These guys definitely more themed about outlasting enemy missile fire. However, that armour will not help them against Lindon's javelins. Here you can only assume he has some sort of elven presence, like probably some Morokwendi archers, Nandor Glade Guard and stuff like that. And then here he's got 2 units of Elvelyn. Yeah, 2 units of Elvelyn Vine Guard for that spear presence. The spears, they suffer from the spear malice, but they will still do fairly well in melee. They're more focused around outlasting their enemies and dishing out damage. And of course there's a couple of Morokwendi pikes in here for that pike presence that, well, Lindon don't have. So these pikes, if they don't get outflanked and outmaneuvered, they could potentially be just what Dorwinion needs to win this fight. He also has I want to say 3 units of Elven infantry. Yeah, I think he has 3 units of Elven infantry. No, he has 3 units of Elven Vine Guard, and 3 units of Elven infantry. Yeah, that sounds about right. These guys slightly more damage oriented than the 𝔽𝕒𝕣 Vanguard, but also because they pack on that plate armor, they are very good at tanking just everything pretty much. And finally, last but not least, I believe this is the General's bodyguard. So hard to tell if he's in there. Yes, it is. General is in there. These guys are AP, well, hammer and shield infantry. That could potentially be just the ticket for dealing with these Nordorian Blade Masters early on. However, they will be outclassed, but since they have that armor piercing could win that fight. But let's get started. Already you can see the Morroquendi Stalkers getting into position to just release some shots in. And yeah, you can see Morris is just trying to sink as much ammo into these guys as he can. And yeah, sure enough, these Nandor Blade Riders, they're having none of that fight, but those javelins are still able to catch them. That second volley doing almost nothing. Oh, so there are some London men hidden around here. Presumably just tank these cavalry. Now, two-handed axemen are also a good way to deal with cavalry in prolonged melee. And yeah, the Midland Swordmaster's now getting involved. Seems like he's trying to front load most of his force over this flank, which I actually sort of agree with, because it means that Morris is having to reposition his, well, almost his entire army over here. These Glade Lords just getting, well yeah, he's using his Morroquendi Stalkers, trying to soften up these Lancers. Ready for the Morroquendi. Nope, the Morroquendi Glade Lords going for that charge on the Swordmasters. Very good cavalry play. And that's actually dishing out an awful lot of damage. Morris is a bit unstable here. Starts to face in the wrong way, and they've been forced to melee by these Swordmasters. They will get slaughtered very quickly unless this cavalry does something about it. Midland Nobles charging the Blade Lords. Not sure if I agree with that, but they will actually dish out some fairly decent damage on them, provided they keep on moving around. And yeah, sure enough, Morroquendi Blade Lords stands to 23 men. He should definitely try and get some charges in on these Elven marksmen. The Nandor Blade Riders getting around the, well, presumably trying, yeah, he doesn't want to go for those 4 Marines. Nordorian Blade Master pursuing that cavalry, they're never going to reach him as long as Morris keeps his micro down pat. He's following an infantry, presumably just here with the rear guard. Well, actually no. He has actually, he can poke a hole in one of these places. Well, in fact, he's getting some guys from the flank. I would say. I don't think they're ever going to be back. Double and marksmen have managed to fight off with the Northern Fleet's help. However, the Soul Mithrin Lance has got melee with them and is just desperately trying to kill a couple of these Velen. Well, but anyway, he's put them out he's stopped them from firing. Mevin doing exactly what he needs to do with his chariots, albeit they have been, well, killed very significantly. And a lot of those guys are dead now. However, the frontline fight is not looking too good for Mevin at the moment. If he can use these Northern Blade Masters to get a good charge in, like or something, then I think he'd be looking far stronger. But Morris has done a very good job at salvaging this. His Elven marksman.
We've lost half of our men.
These javelins getting in the flank is definitely going to cause massive problems for Dorwinion here. Of it.
Our men have slain the enemy general.
Oh.
Without only half the enemy force
Dorwinion
remains.
general going there could cause a massive problem because wait, no, that's the pond in there. However, these Midland Marines are now free to go into melee. I believe, yeah, I think they will some of their javelins. Pond and guards will have ammo. These javelins can get just a few more kills so they can win on one of these flanks. Because this flank is not looking good for them. There's very few Hollands and infantry left. Yeah, Morris has managed to... Oh, that... These 70 Elven got routed. That's big. But yeah, still 6,000 frames, 5,000 frames in this fight. More like 6,000 actually. These more kind of stalkers, we pull on sentinels. Starting with the short cavalry, getting a nice charge into the Fallen Marines. They're going to want to get out of there quickly as these Fallen Marines turn around and start just stabbing them to death with their spears. But yeah, that charge was devastating. And the Moroccan Blade Lords severely weakened now. They're not going to be able to march. I believe all three of them, yeah, just charged into, they've just run into spears and yeah, there's one of them left. And he's bloodied up. I might get a few kills off, but he's gone and he didn't even get a kill off. These Albanian infantry routing. Northern Blade Masters, 35 of them remaining. 45 more of them pikes routing. So it's actually looking like over here the Albanian bomb. They might be getting to the archers. They're open archers, they should be able to tank for a fair while. 49 more Marines trying to and Midland Marines desperate. Oh, there's still a chariot left alive, desperately trying to take on these 27 over Hammer God that are left. I don't think that's going to go too well for him. Okay, maybe I was wrong. There's a significant amount of elves heading these over Hammer God's way. Especially with the Blade Masters, that could cause very big problems for them. This unit of javelins has been dealt with, I presume, unless... yeah. They've been dealt with. These guys have rallied. Presumably, they're gonna... are they... more funny sorts like it doesn't look like they do. Okay, so basically this section of there's these hundred got escaped. More funny types and getting to that formation very quickly. And they need that support. Stuff like supporting units can be very important. But yeah, these Albanian infantry are routing. Sorry about that. Things are starting to fireworks or lagging. That's loud. So I just put the units to change that. I'm just gonna quickly make another part just to change it slightly again. Sorry about this. I think that Yeah, you can see this cavalry charging into the roof. These guys, yeah, a lot of the Dorwinion army is routing at this point. But there is still this small quantity of them fighting here. And that small quantity, if they can do enough damage to, well, Lindon, especially taking out these little ones. If these guys start to drop, it's going to be very good for Dorwinion. However, they do have very little left alive, it appears. Yeah, there's not much left for Dorwinion at this point. Now, 𝔽𝕖𝕒𝕣 marksman trying to get some nice pot shots in there. Just any damage these guys can get off could prove to be very important. They're gonna want to get these. I don't know, is that a really good fight? It does look like they might. No, there's still too many elves. Getting some shots into the guard. Getting some shots into their flank could cause massive issues for them. Which I think Morris may try and do that. But I think it's too late for that now, as all of this frontline infantry is routing off. And yeah, no, that's not coming back. I just think there's slightly too much of the Lindon army left for the Dorwinion force to withstand. Because, yeah, there's still 13 ordering blade masters. They have enough support, I think. However, it is very close kill-wise, and Dorwinion do have the cavalry advantage. Some nice rear charges in there could be very good for them. I mean, you don't want to be pulling away your overland infantry. You want to be getting them in there just to keep your 𝔽𝕒𝕣 marksmen alive. Surely. Like, I guess they are just charging into one unit. And you do still have the other unit freeze of fire, which I'm presuming that still some of them cannon. Yeah, if they couldn't get these guys to front run, right? One good that's not going to be a good shot. No. Charging from both sides. That's got these guys down to 38. You're going to want to get out of there quickly, which is it's good to see he's doing everything right with cavalry.
The battle is very much in our favour. Victory will be ours.
I think at this point they're trying to get this other unit of cavalry in melee. Cavalry. Infantry melee. These 𝔽𝕼𝕣 infantry are rousing. So the marksmen are looking like they want to rout, but they're just about to run. I disagree with charging the spears. Even though you're going to have that just little second where they don't spears. I mean, that time they did get spears. That was a mistake. I would have said charge into these. These 𝔽𝕼𝕣, nah, I don't think there's enough of them to return. I think they're going to be out of infantry. I mean, like, hats off to this map, in fairness. It's a brilliant map. It looks, like map-wise, it looks very similar to the last siege battle I put on the channel, that 1v1 where I was playing as 𝔽𝕼𝕣 and I was going up against the AI. That settlement there looks very similar with that hill fort at the top and it's like buildings. Of course it doesn't have the walls, there's that difference, but there's definitely quite a few similarities. This cavalry, I think the battle is lost at this point. They're just going for that final. I did not find it. But yeah, I think at this point Yes. Then again, it is 92-92. However, there are definitely too many spears. If he kills off his... Yeah, there's just too many. There's javelins. 23 javelins is... Like... Yes, they won't do the damage the fastest, but they will still do the damage. And charging into spears and damage, they get shot.
Victory is ours!
And sure enough,
Only
the
by a
Morriquan
sword's edge.
route off, and Mevin, Lindon, is victorious. Thankfully, we get to see the end battle screen. Like, that is actually... That's very good from both players. Like, it's a very close battle. I'd say Morris, he definitely had the tools to it. But I think that Mevin's going over to this side of the battlefield play, I think that could have won him the battle, because it meant that Morris desperately had to reposition his forces. While he was actually looking fairly good in some fights, Mevin managed to get in his javelins around the flank, getting a lot of kills with them, getting these archers locked down, and I think the lack of elves also hurt Morris very significantly as well. But now let's have a look at what did the damage for Mevin. His Northern Blade Masters, of course, doing very well, with 203 kills and 39 prisoners caught. Very impressive stuff there. Mithril Sword Masters doing significantly worse than I'd expected. I was expecting them to get a fair chunk over 100 kills there, but not even breaking 100. With 74 and 86 kills, Lindon Infantry, I guess doing as I'd expect, but sort of slightly worse. I'd have been expecting them to get about 60 kills at the lowest, with 47 there being their highest and 44 their lowest. Significant amounts of kills on this unit with the Marines. The other one not doing as well, but catching a fair few prisoners. No, that's casualties healed. So it was just this unit that did well better. Fallen Marines doing very well, very cost effective there. Probably more actually cost effective than this unit of Marines by a long shot. With 113, no, that's 118 and 72 kills. Then Holland and God with 52 and 103 respectively, that's pretty solid for them. Mithril Nobles with 192 kills. Very good use of the chariots actually. And 45 and 64 kills on each of the Mithril Lancers. I'd say that's that's pretty good for a 1 hit point shock cavalry. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to like the video if you enjoyed it, dislike it if you didn't really. Subscribe if you're around here and hit that notification bell just so I know you're subscribed. And you'll get notifications whenever I release a new video. Then of course there is my Discord server, which I'll post a link to in the description below. And if you want to send me any replays, I will of course put I'll put my Discord DM there. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.